Welcome. I thought I'd make this impromptu video. It's actually inspired by someone who's left a comment when I'm talking about, in the last video, about going into this, what I call hyperspace, and accessing, shall we say, your higher self. But very true, it's something that cannot be done if you're going through depression. It's something I've personally been through. I know how debilitating it can seem. But it's actually a blessing. It might sound a strange thing to say, especially if you're in the full sort of throes of it at this present time. It's very difficult to focus on anything. It's very difficult to get any enthusiasm for anything. But what actually is it? It's something that is, through events and things in our lives, that is opened up inside of us. It's like a sort of combination of mental and physical triggering. But depression is actually deep rest. It's an early part of a process. I could liken it to, you've gone into your sort of confessional, because it feels very much like you're going into like a hermit phase. And when you got depression, it's very hard to actually pull yourself out. I had very little help. There was just one guy, I think he was ex-military. This would have been somewhere in the region of about 25 years ago, I believe. And really, it was over a 20-year period. Don't be disheartened by that. When I'm saying it's a 20-year period, it wasn't with a full-blown depression at its worst. That sort of transmuted and turned into anxiety and panic attacks. I feel that all the things are related. It's the body telling on the mind. The reason for depression is deep rest. It's trying to get you to sort of go through a reset. I could also say, when talking about depression and things like this, to make a video on it is a bit like a general tarot card reading. Some parts will resonate for some parts won't. So this is why I invite you to come and talk to me directly through messages, through voicemails, and we can hopefully give you a different perspective, because the world is turning, as it were, in the mind, and certainly in depression, things just keep going round and round, and it seems like a bottomless spiral that is very difficult to come out of. But it is possible to come out of it. I offer myself as a living proof. I'm obviously not the only one that has. I was thinking, do I still have depression in any form? Yes, it's still there to a minor degree. It's more transmuted, and it more sort of comes out as a sort of disappointment when certain things happen. But it doesn't affect me in the way that it did, where I went through a phase where, at the worst of it, where I just couldn't sit down, and I ended up pacing up and down. It was driving me absolutely crazy. And then it goes through another phase of, you wonder why it's even worth even getting out of bed. What is there out there? It seems like there's nothing can help. It's a very isolating feeling. And it's not something that you're going to come out of overnight. I know that from experience, because I could say it is over a 20-year period, possibly even longer. But it's I'm trying to think of the right words here. It's a very slow process. It's not unlike if someone is weighing, say, 400 pounds and wants to get back to a more ideal weight. And you can't expect to do that overnight. Just go to bed and the next day you've gone from 400 pounds to, I don't know, 250 pounds in weight. It's going to take time. It takes a lot. It's a lot on the body to go through as well. It's not just the mind, don't forget. But there are, I'd say that one of the biggest factors, if you've got the full blown depression, most likely that you're not going to be in a situation where you are employed. So a way to look at it is you've been given the time to sort of go through, I could even say this is a natural process, to be able to discover yourself or discover a new version of yourself that will emerge out of this. It's somewhere that you end up having to sit in, but it's somewhere you don't really want to be sitting for too long. But it's a bit like being you've fallen down into a well and there's no handholds to try and pull yourself up. Well, here is a hand that is reaching down to say, take my hand and I will do what I can to help you back out of it. It's one of the things that I offer, just sort of a befriending service, we'll call it. I charge a sort of a minimum donation of $5, €5 or £5 sterling. But even if you're in such a financial position that you can't even find that, then don't feel that you can't approach me. It's not about capitalizing on what would seem to be a misfortune that you're going through. It's part of what I feel is a calling for me. I've gone through this, and from my own experiences, I can then help others to come out the other side of it. It's very much a part of all of this. As I said on the last video, if we go with the idea there's going to be a big event in 2040, so you've got just under 16 years. So if you consider how that may manifest in your life in 2040, excuse me, it's actually probably a good thing. It's the beauty and the timing of again. If you're going through this at this current time, then you've got plenty of time in which you'll be able to come out the other side of it. You've also got the whole aspect of after 2046 or 2052 that there will be the 144,000 that are left behind that will be sort of indestructible and here to guide the rest of humanity through however things play out. And I feel that is maybe part of your sort of spiritual training, gaining these experiences, because a lot of people will say, what is my role? What is my mission? Well, I think it was on the last video. Excuse me. I'm a little bit hoarse this morning. It was 9:44, and I thought, perfect time to make a video. So this could all be part of it. That you're being equipped, you're being geared up. If you want to think of it like going into war, you'll be issued with a rifle and ammunition and things like that. But this is self-empowerment. There's nothing physical about this. Same with don't even worry about 2040 and where do I need to run to, and do I need to head for the hills, or do I need to head for build a bunker and all this sort of thing. No, you'll probably be building yourself a tomb. It's I feel that by the time we get to 2040, the spiritual evolution will be such that you'll know exactly what to do. It will come just like when you get that spark, which obviously won't happen when you're in that depression phase, but it'll come. You'll just know. If I use a Rudolf Steiner way of describing this, the foundation of love is interest. So you can draw on what things interest you, what experiences you've been through, which will probably the spark will be connected with those, because you'll be able to draw on the experiences you've had. It will be something you have an interest in. Therefore, you have the foundation on which it can be then projected and radiated out as a form of love, effectively. Oh, terrible this morning. I can take personal accountability. Yes, it's probably because I smoke, and because I've been laying down. Obviously, all the tar in the lungs goes like a road surface, and then when I stand up, it's got to sort of settle back down, as it were. I make a joke of it because it's far better than going through life being fearful, which obviously is going to implant things into the body. It's not even actively fighting any of these things. It's embracing and acknowledging these things, why these things are coming up. And it's a bit like you're stumbling in the dark. There is no sort of guidebook, or you haven't been given the instructions of, well, how do you maneuver your way through this situation. So I'm grateful that I've gone through it, because I feel that's part of what I'm here to do, is to help others get through those particularly deep trenches where we get entrenched in. So it is like a battle anyway, or it can seem like a battle, but it's been able to sort of rise up out of that trench again. Look at the theme, the pattern. It's about rising, overcoming something within inside yourself. It's all a step. I mean, where would you put different things that we see as debilitating? So depression, anxiety, panic attacks. We could ultimately go right to the very end and the overcoming of death. That's a pretty famous story and an archetype that is shown with that story. So it's a sort of an impromptu video, and sort of just to sort of reiterate that the offer is there for anybody who is really struggling with life at the moment, particularly if you now have a worldview that is very different from the majority, because that in itself can seem very isolating as well. In some ways, you could say that that is a slightly different perspective, but it's as isolating, or can feel as isolating, as having full-blown depression. But who's to say which is worse? I know how it feels in that moment, which feels worse, but it, which actually is worse? Something that's sudden and fairly quick, or something that is prolonged that doesn't seem to come to an end? Equally as bad, really. I can't judge one being worse than the other, but certainly in the moment when you're going through these experiences, they can seem the worst thing ever, as it were. So that's partly about what this channel is about, to find you a way to navigate through these challenges that are put in front of us. But those challenges are put in front of us to find ways round, to overcome. It is all strengthening your spiritual armor. It is all gaining experience in this reality. So I feel that's enough for this video. I didn't want to make it too long. So I'm going to say unconditional love to you, and check the description, because it's got all the contact details and ways I can help you. I did the most beautiful 3-card tarot card reading yesterday. I was asked to do for a sister, and it to me was one of the best tarot card readings. What came out of those cards? Now, I don't use the book. I'm not trained in tarot cards. I just go with what feels right. And in this particular case, I pulled 3 cards. And I don't see them as past, present and future. I was seeing it more that the first card was representing the present and showing the past. And the other 2 were sort of advising with aspects of the way forward. Little update to end on here. It's got to the stage that we can really only have 1 cat on the lap, maybe 2 at a stretch, because in the 3.5 months, they have really grown. And we've got pairing as well now. That is a beautiful thing as well. Stroking a cat can actually help, if you like cats, of course, but a dog may be a companion that can help you as well. More so probably with a dog, because a dog will want to be taken on walks, so that will give you a sort of an incentive, a motivation to actually go out and face the world when you feel you don't want to, because that with anxiety can be another thing as well. But we'll end that video there, and yes, unconditional love to you all.